Okay, this demonstration is going to be over the Profoto D1 500 strobe unit. This comes in a kit with 2 lights, 2 stands, and 2 umbrellas. So let's start off like we usually do, how to attach the light to our stand. Again, we just loosen right here, and that's where it's going to loosen and tighten back on. So I'm always going to make sure that this is nice and snug before I continue. The next thing I'm always going to do is I'm going to remove its safety cover. Now it just kind of twists right off. If I want to put on a reflector, which I don't need to have, I then can grab and pick whichever reflector I want. And again, these just have a clamp system that clamps down. Notice on the side of the reflector, it actually gives us different degrees that we may want with it. Now I don't need a reflector because this has a built-in reflector. But if I do decide I want a reflector, this actually gives me angles of light. So for instance, as I slide this on, if I decide that I wanted a 95-degree angle of light, it tells me to go back to number 9, which is all the way back, and then I can lock it down. If I wanted a 45-degree angle of light, I could then push it up to the number 5 and then lock it down in that position. Again, I don't have to have this on, so I'm going to go ahead and just release that and take this off. The next thing is our power cord. For our power cord, the best way to do this is to slide it under the handle, and the actual slot is right here underneath. So I'm going to basically match up that power cord, slide it underneath, and then plug it in on an angle. Finally, the last thing is connecting a sync cord. So whether it be my sync cord to camera or sync cord to my slave unit, I'm going to take the mini PC and it's going to sit right here opposite where the power cord is. Now it's kind of a tight little groove in there, but it does fit, and so I'll just slide that in. At this point now, I'm ready to shoot. Now on the Profoto heads, as soon as I plug in, a little red light is going to appear here. That's telling me that there is power, live power, coming to this head at this moment. So to turn my head on, I'm going to go ahead and hit the on button, and that's going to turn green. So we're going to go through all of our different buttons. So the first button that's right below it is our test button. This is where I can go ahead and fire off the strobe. If we go up to the top here, this is going to tell me my power. Now notice on my power, I can take this down as low as a 4 and as high as a 10. Now don't think about this in the same way that we think of the power, say for instance, on the Calumets where we had our 10 to 60, because the 10 on this is stronger than the 60 on the Calumet, because this one is letting off 500 watt-seconds of power. Now again, I can change that power right here on this button. When I power down, this unit does not flash off. It slowly discharges the power. My recommendation is anytime I go down in power, I'm going to go ahead and test fire at once just to make sure that I push out any extra power. Now we'll jump on over here. So the first button is our slave unit. Now typically you're going to see a little green light where it says IR, and this means that it's live and ready to be used as a slave. So I don't have to have this hooked directly to my camera. If I have this as a secondary light, my primary light would end up firing this off. If I hit that and turn that off, at this point it's set up that it won't fire if another light sets it off. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on because I usually will keep this on. The next button down is where it says ready, is my beep and dim. What these will do is my beep, as we have it on right now, is every time I change something, it makes a noise, and every time I test it, it makes a noise. Now you'll notice in this it's recycling much quicker. If I take this down to a 4, basically as fast as I can fire, it's ready to go ahead and fire again. So this is nice when I am trying to do a lot of movement. If I take it all the way up to the 10, you're going to see it takes a little bit longer, but again, it's still much quicker than what we were used to with some of our other lights. These are made to recycle on a much faster recycle rate so that we can shoot higher action shots. If I hit this again, it now comes down to where it says dim. And on dim, it's basically, or no, right now it's on nothing. So there's no lights. So at this point, if I change things, we don't hear it. When I test fire, it also does not make any kind of beep. Now I can also set it on dim, and I don't recommend this, and the reason why is what this does is it actually dims the light down and then powers it back up. It's one of those things that actually ends up confusing people because they see that their light's on and they think it's ready to shoot. So I'm just going to keep it over here on my beep. Finally, I'm going to come down to my modeling light. Now we have prop and free with our modeling light, and for the most part you're only going to use prop. This naturally sets it itself up. So right now I have my prop set, and so as I change this power, the light is actually going to change right in front of me. So I'm actually going to see those changes happening instantaneously, which is very nice. When I go ahead and fire, my modeling light stays on, but it's going to basically give me a beep when I'm ready to shoot. With free, I'm actually setting it that I can control how much power I come out of my modeling light different than I can out of my strobe. So I'm kind of seeing different things happening. So if I actually want to set that, I can actually come down here to where it says model set. I can click that button, and now I can tell it, okay, I want a 7 power out of my modeling light. Now again, this is another thing I don't recommend. Now I can also just turn it off, and at this point there is no modeling light going on the head. This is something I might want if I'm trying to shoot in the dark or painting with light, or when I'm working with still life and highly reflective objects. But most of the time I'm going to keep it on prop so that the light stays on and is ready to use whenever I want. Finally, the last thing, which I didn't show you before, is where your umbrella goes. If you're using an umbrella, it actually is this hole right here, which comes all the way around to the other side of the head. So if I spin this around, right here on this side of the head is actually where we're going to see the umbrella will stick in directly right in there.